カバンカバン。
もしかして
おい、いい加減に。
What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 1 of season 2 of 3 out of 10 anime fans. Recommend you check out this podcast if you ever get reincarnated into another world, aka 3 out of 10 anime. This is the season opener for season 2. We hope you're just as excited that we are back as we are. This show is all about having fun conversations to rank anime based on a standard set of criteria so they could be compared, contrasted, and recommended. We discuss a different show or movie each week, so whether you're a seasoned weeb or new to the genre, we know you'll have a good time. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. Here's the agenda for each episode. First, we start with our first impressions of the chosen show in one sentence. Then, we give our personal enjoyment, a scale of 1 to 10 based on our own rubrics about how much we enjoyed watching the show. Then, we do a technical assessment, which is a collective rubric with 4 criteria where we rank it on a scale of 1 to 10 to give us an overall technical accomplishment of the show. And then finally, at the end, we give you comparisons and recommendations to other shows you should check out if you like this one, and announce what we will be doing in the following week. I'm Brett.
I'm Skyler.
And I'm Braydn.
We are your hosts from the United States. We each have varying opinions, tastes, and backgrounds, which should result in some interesting and relatable dialogue, no matter who you are. We're grateful you're joining us for our kickoff of Season 2, a very special dual episode where we're covering 2 shows for the price of 1. That's right, for the low price of listening to this, you will get 2 anime reviews for the price of 1 episode. We are covering 2 romance anime that were not only written by the same author, but also produced by the same studio. We are doing Toradora and Golden Time. Romance anime available on Crunchyroll. We're going to do the whole thing. Spoiler warning, expect spoilers. We open the whole kimono and leave nothing out. So be ready. Without further ado, how would you guys describe your impressions of Toradora in 1 sentence?
I'm going to go in. I'm not going to let this empty space happen our first episode. I'm going in, guys.
Do it.
All right. Toradora, for me, was this delightful romance with a little fireball character mixes with the scowling guy. For me, that's relatable for me. I am the scowling guy, by the way. I got to kill with the boy. I like him. That's my 1 sentence.
Okay, sweet. Skyler, go ahead.
All right. I'd say that my 1 sentence is a fresh take on romance that, while I wasn't on board at first, I was after a little while.
All right. I really like, Skyler, your new approach to your 1 sentences. That's super insightful. I really like that. Okay, I'll give my 1 sentence. This was a fantastic little show that hit me way deeper than I was anticipating. And when I was thinking of how much I liked it, like if it was something I'd eaten and there was like flavors that I didn't like, there was almost nothing. It was so tasteful and wonderful and wholesome. I loved it. That's my 1 sentence. Okay. Let's do the same thing.
Same thing, round 2. Let's go.
1 sentence for Golden Time. Let's go in reverse order. I will go first for Golden Time. Okay, so for me, Golden Time is a wonderful romance that I think how romance anime should be. I was so satisfied. By the way, I watch a lot of romance anime. Like a lot.
He is a married man, after all.
My wife and I watch them constantly. I just give that context to say that Golden Time was in a setting and with characters and portrayed in a way that I was so refreshed and excited to see portrayed in anime. So for me, it is a near perfect romance for my tastes. There you go. Skyler.
Oh boy. Golden Time was in a setting that I thought would allow more to happen, but my annoyance with the main character dragged it down.
All right. Braydn.
My turn?
Yep.
Good. I've been getting ready for this one. Hallelujah! It's a college romance anime! Woo!
There you go.
Finally!
Seriously, right?
Oh, there. I mean, I love Toradora to death. It is another high school romance, high school I believe they're in. But oh, sweet glory! Thank goodness for a college romance. Finally, Brett, thank you for putting me onto this one. This was a good one.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, so let's give our ranking on a scale of 1 to 10, starting with Toradora. Braydn, what did you give Toradora on a scale of 1 to 10 for your enjoyment?
For my enjoyment, I gave it a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 for me, well within my recommendation scale. It's one that seems that it could be like inspirational to me. Like it has things I find that it reaches towards enlightening me. However, it has some major points that keep me from giving a higher score. That's Toradora for me.
Okay. Skyler, what'd you give Toradora?
So I gave Toradora a 9.5. So yeah, for me that's really, really high. And just a bit of a refresher on mine. The way that my rating is essentially based on right now is essentially off of how likely am I to go and rewatch it. Because if I've liked a show so much that I go and rewatch it on my own, then it's really, really good. And so this one's right up on that fringe of where I'd watch it by myself again alone, but I'll definitely 100% watch it again with someone else.
Okay. Sweet. All right, for me, I gave Toradora a 9. I should also mention that I originally gave Toradora a 10, but realized that there were things I didn't like about it. So what's a 9 for me? A 9 is a show I love. I enjoy it so much that it's near perfection for me in terms of like what I want to watch. However, there's teeny tiny things that I just don't like enough to keep it from being a true 10. And one of the main reasons I can't give it higher is because I gave Golden Time a 9.5. So Golden Time is a 9.5. So what's a 10? A 10 is a show that I enjoy watching as much or more than any other show. I either could not stop watching until the end, or there was not a single thing that I failed to like. So I had to give Toradora below Golden Time because I liked it just a little bit more. So 9 for Toradora, 9.5 for Golden Time. And the difference there, in my top 10 shows of all time, Golden Time makes the list. Toradora does not because of that 0.5 difference.
Word.
Okay.
It's a prestigious list. It is for all of us, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
For my Golden Time, I gave that one a 6 out of 10. Earnestly, the college setting makes up for almost entirely my enjoyment of that show. It is so refreshing, and it leads to much more like adult-filling conversations that I really appreciate. Though I have a lot of issues with the show, like I do. It's still one I would recommend to people to see. And again, entirely because of the college setting.
Yeah.
Yep. And
All right, Skyler.
yeah, I was gonna say it's pretty much the same with me. I gave Golden Time a 7. And so the college setting was a refreshing breath of air, but just my issues essentially with the plot surrounding Toradora and Just
That stupid name. Come on.
yeah, and just like the way that the plot revolved around him with like the whole amnesia thing and him just being stupid drove down my rating.
All right.
There's the numbers crew.
Let's-
We did it. That's the first one of season 2. We got it.
The first rating of season 2. Let's jump into those reasons. So you guys talked about the main character from Golden Time.
Golden
Before
Time.
we start like talking about things we liked, let's hit that hot button. Skyler,
Yeah.
dive into that a little bit. Tell us about Tarabandi.
Okay, so Tadabandri, yeah, the whole plot essentially revolved around him getting amnesia from some accident, and then almost all the way through the season, he gets his memories back, forgetting everything that he did in college, but regaining his high school memories. And so, I don't know, I
Which
guess
is-
that where... Go ahead.
It's interesting because we've seen this before when we did our Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai episode.
Yes.
Is Kaida, the sister in Rascal, has the exact same thing going on with her.
Yes, and actually that's where I would want to show where the difference is because in Rascal, you kind of build up these feelings for Kaede, and then by the time it's, and then by the time Kaede comes around for where it's her turn to like go through her character development and have her issues resolved in the story, and you realize everything that she's going through, she knows exactly what's going on. And she's trying to do her best in her own way with this whole situation. The thing is, in Golden Time, it didn't feel like that. It didn't really feel like that until sometime after the car crash, I want to say. But even then,
Oh, the
It just
car
didn't-
crash.
but even then it just didn't feel right to me. I don't know quite how to explain it.
Oh, I 100% agree, Skyler. Smokes, that the sequence, I liked him and what's her name, Coco. I like her,
Yep.
his and Coco's relationship.
Yes.
I love the conversations they have. I don't care about his weird backstory. For me, it consistently just seemed kind of extra. In a space where they had already a fireball dynamic character, they kind of wove in this what is it called, adolescence syndrome factor into the
To pull on Rascal, yeah.
the full on Rascal.
Hold on, I thought this was about Golden Time. Toradora, I didn't know we were doing a 3-way episode here.
Three-way episode. Whew, that's too much for me. It's so especially as it gets late in the season. And Brett, I would love to hear your thoughts about this whole thing, because honestly, most of his character seems to be defined by this issue he has of being flip-flopped by his spirit self, who has other objectives than he does.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for me, it like, especially the later it got on, the less I cared about the situation. But Brett, why was this one a 9.5 for you, given all that?
So, I agree with all of that. But I don't care!
Hey!
Because
That's
it was finally a college romance
College
anime.
romance anime!
Here's the thing, all right? Like, I'm gonna flip flop back to Toradora for just a second, right?
Sure.
I'm gonna talk about Golden Time, but Toradora was amazing. Toradora captured what it's like to be in high school and in love so perfectly well, and they gave each character such an amazing composition of emotions, and their representation of those characters through the show was amazing. Like, I related to Toradora, I felt Toradora on a deep level. It was an incredibly deep show. Like, there was some deep emotions running through that show. Braydn, I don't know if you remember, but when we had our anime club about Toradora, we were going around the circle asking, like, what did you think of Toradora? And you, like, if I can say this, you, like, got emotional, and you were like, you like almost started crying, and you're like, I can't talk right now. Like, it just hit you so deep. And I think, like,
Brett, I was
Yes.
crying. I was crying half an hour ago before we started recording. Like I went through to rewatch it because it's been a while since we did it. It looks like a year ago. It feels like, and yeah, no, it is in line with relationships that I've had in the past, and to see where they land, oh, my little Toradora heart just goes all doki doki, if you know what I mean. It's so good.
And that's
Yeah.
why it's
So-
a 9.5 for me.
And so, but what was it that kept Toradora from being a 10 for me? If I loved that much of it, if I loved that part so much, in my romance anime, I want to see them be romantic. I want to see them be
Yeah.
a couple. I want to see them hold hands and kiss, and more than that, like, I want to see them be a couple. I do not like hentai, but I want there to be like that physical element. And I know the culture of Japan is so completely different than the United States, and I'm very well informed about that. However,
Golden time exists.
Golden time exists, and that's where I got so happy and excited, because early in the show they become a couple. They hold hands, they kiss, they have intimate moments physically and emotionally within the context of a relationship. Now maybe it's because of like my place in life and where I am. Like, I've been with my wife for 8 years, going on 9 years. I am so far past all of the high school stuff that, like, it's harder for me to feel satisfied watching a high school romance relationship, because they are typically so, like, the show's just like, they push the relationship all the way to the end of the show, and it leaves me feeling like I wanted more. With Golden Time, the show was within the context of a formal relationship, and that's what I was like craving from romance anime. Like, in fact, I got recommended Golden Time by going onto the r/anime subreddit and saying, I just watched Toradora with my wife and it was incredible, but is there anything where people are like in a relationship? Is there anything where they're a couple? And I got like 30 things where people were like, watch Golden Time, same studio, watch Golden Time, watch Golden Time. And so,
Same studio, same writer. Go, just right on over there, buddy. You're almost there.
so anyway, so like that's
Okay.
So to answer your question,
Yeah.
did I have problems with Tarabandi? Yes, and one of the main reason that it's not a 10 for me is because I think the ending of Golden Time was horrible. I think the ending of the show was just terrible. Such a bad ending to a show. Seriously,
It's one of those, like, we did this with Stinkin' Sword Art Online. We just cut out a lot that we don't want to think about. We got into that last 2 episodes could just be right on out of there. So stupid.
the ending of the show
But-
was not good.
So
but-
rushed.
The-
It
the-
just kind of cobbles together all the things they need to resolve, and it just it
Yeah.
feels so bad. Her saying yes at the end, the not Coco, but Linda, the girlfriend
Yeah.
before the amnesia hit, finally saying yes to resolve the spirit Terabondi's, conscious. Like, that could have happened so long ago.
It should have happened way before that point.
Yeah. Yep.
What things did you guys? I just went on a huge rant. What things did you guys like about both of the shows? I mean, you liked Golden Time more. Why did you like? Or sorry, Toradora more. Why did you like Toradora more?
It's towards Skyler, right? Oh no, you're talking to me for Toradora.
Both of you guys.
Both
Both
of
of you
us
guys
rated
ranked
Toradora
Toradora
higher.
higher.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
And I did it for just one reason only, for Golden Time, and it was they were in a relationship for the majority of the show, and that's the
So-
only thing I cared about.
I will interject one thing real quick, where it's like, I mentioned Tadabandri being stupid, and that was one of the points that dragged me down, and a big part of me dragging it down was that he was in a relationship and was doing those stupid things with Linda Senpai. And so it's like, whenever he was doing it, it's like, you deserve whatever you get coming to you, because you are a hyper stupid right now, and I'm sorry, I can't sympathize with you. You know you shouldn't be doing this, and yet you're doing it. So I'm sorry.
And I, for the life of me, cannot think of a single characteristic about Tanda Bondri besides his name and his amnesia. like I can't think of like what made him like him besides he was able to have this relationship with Coco, which again, it is a very good romance anime. They do have a very earnest romance, but I don't know what like makes him the bit that he is. Whereas Coco, who's one of my favorite characters in Golden Time, is all kinds of like characteristics. She's crazy. She's certifiably like nuts. And having her like come to terms with that, we get to see that kind of good conversation in this show.
Yeah.
Thank you, Golden Time.
Yes,
Her
and that is
character
what I
progression
enjoyed.
was so good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
But
and
then-
that's a big highlight of Golden Time.
Yeah. Whereas Toradora, our main boy, he's a scowling, sicking ghoul of a boy, and that has a crush on some girl. And then he gets run into by the palm top tiger herself. And she is this little, I swear, like 4'11" hot tall girl that will take on an elephant or take on a mountain if she needs to.
She basically
Like
did.
those two are characters, and they still get to have some really, really good conversations about relationships and their feelings because they start not that's the tie for them is they don't have feelings for each other, they have feelings towards each other's best friends.
Yeah,
and so they just start tying that knot together and it brings them together, and the whole process we get to see that very well written romance anime. That's what we need with these romance animes, is the conversations that get us there. Both these guys deliver. I just think Toradora is enough a character to carry it up for my enjoyment.
Yes, and that is something that I actually wanted to bring out, which is a formula between the two that is similar, which is that the original love interest isn't aligned, essentially. So like with Toradora, you just mentioned, was like they were in love with the other's best friend, not each other. But they went into this agreement to help each other get with their best friend, essentially.
Yep.
In Golden Time, it's a
I agree that
similar...
it's a very strong term, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, but in Golden Time, it's not quite the same because Coco, has a lot of feelings for Tada's best friend, if you can call him that at the time. But then Tada essentially...
Mitsuo.
Yep.
Mitsuo. But then Tada can't seem to make up his mind, even when he's in a relationship with Coco, if he's actually in love with Coco or Linda, which is what really annoyed me.
I mean, it's set up with the whole memory loss thing. Like,
It was
wait,
still-
but now I remember all those emotions for this girl, and so now I'm conflicted. But that
still
is so
annoying.
artificial. like
Maybe
this-
maybe it's because I was hit by a car when I was 18 and suffered a traumatic brain injury. But to me, that was not as frustrating as I thought it would be. Because I'll be honest, like if this was another show or done in another way, I would have been very annoyed as well. And I think you guys are completely justified in being annoyed. Maybe it's just because of my personal experience that's like so similar to his. I didn't get amnesia necessarily. I did completely forget how to read and write. Not completely, I just couldn't read and write, and I completely forgot how to do math completely. I was in pre-calculus at the time, and I literally, as a senior, had to go back to pre-algebra in order to graduate, and like I had to relearn math because of my brain injury. So like I did forget some things. I used to have a photographic memory, kind of. Don't anymore. Like lots of weird stuff. So maybe it's because I related to him in a way that I'm like, yeah, you got hit by a car. It's fine.
Yeah.
I get it.
Hey, no, I'll grant that to you. Because, 100%. Because to me, the side of it, 'cause especially with the ghost being there half the season, and then him, like, having these flashes of, like, personality change, just sparked way more the like I said, the adolescent syndrome, or the mysticism kind of element that Rascal had, whereas the rest of the whole show was very grounded in a college setting, and wacky, crazy city college things happened. So it didn't seem like a show of the supernatural or romance in the supernatural, but had this element that landed for you and took us out. So
I wouldn't say it landed for me. It just didn't really take away it didn't add anything. Like I wasn't like, oh, that's so meaningful, but I wasn't like, oh, I hate that. Like it was just a wash. Like I overlooked it.
Yeah.
So I wanna
But But you know what I couldn't overlook?
What's that?
And you brought it up earlier, Braydn. How incredible the whole cast of Toradora is. Taiga,
Yeah.
Yuji,
Yeah.
Minori, Ami-chan, Kitamura, even like the side characters like Koji, Sakura, Kano, like
the drama
characters
boy,
in
the
Toradora.
teacher,
are so good.
they're
And
so
like
good.
they had such incredible moments in the show. Like you said, Braydn, like I don't really remember what Tada Banri did, but like you remember so many powerful moments from the Toradora cast. Like when Kitamura shows up with the Santa hat on and his shirt off,
Yep.
and Ami-chan's whole character growth. Like the whole stalker thing to me was a little kind of like whatever, but
Yes.
her underlying emotional relationship growth with the characters and how she really was kind of like the big sister who was acting aloof but was trying to kind of help everyone grow up in their own way. Minori, the fact that she liked Ryuji and then supported her friend by giving her savings, like so good.
Actually, I want to circle back on I have her down as Ami, the idol girl.
Yeah.
In Toradora early on, there's a camping arc where they're trying to scare Minori so that she will go, "Oh no, Ryuji, please save me," and then it's cute and they're a couple then. Easy. It doesn't happen like that. In fact, a lot of very good conversations come in, but that was the conversation spot where Ami and Ryuji, where she gets to be a character. Like she finally gets to be like a person. And she shows one major quality she has. She's insight on people. She says, I know you're kind of pining over this Minori character. You're not good for each other. And that's the first character that had the balls to say that in this show. Yes! And then she does that time and time again. Like she's very flamboyant. She's very crass to a lot of people. But she turns around and she's the one that probably has the most insight about what's going on in this school versus any other character. And then the conversations keep going. Like in the same bit, there was a beautiful conversation that gets tied in through the whole season in that same arc with Ryuji and then Minori, his love interest at the time, the friend of Taiga. She says, "I've never seen ghosts, but I want to one day." What a stinking line to say. I've never been in a relationship. There are things I've heard of. There are things I've heard other people see and have different experiences with. Ghosts, relationships. I want to see one day, but I don't think I can see one now. It's how she kind of like starts letting them go. And and she ties it together at the end until they pull back to this reference a couple times. Thank you, writers, screenwriters, whatever, for making this moment happen. That is so beautiful, artistic. And it translated to English, which is a little bite that I gotta take out of Toradora.
Good delivery.
Yep.
Well,
Excellent stuff.
Skyler, I think you were going to say something, right?
When?
Good point. Good point.
Yep.
What other points do we have for these two shows? Like, what other things do we enjoy and not enjoy?
In both shows, I would have to say that both Golden Time and Toradora had a good supporting cast, where the supporting characters had stuff going on, and they weren't just flat, featureless people.
Even though one is literally named 2D-kun in Golden Time.
Yeah. Despite that, he still has personality, and
Yes, he does.
Even in the last few episodes, like he really was doing some stuff that was like, ooh,
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna throw out a supporting character. Nana,
Yes!
the rocker chick.
Yeah!
The rocker chick. Well, that she was so awesome in Golden Time. She was like one of my favorite characters. She was so good. I loved Nana.
From them, I didn't think that was one of the characters I did not expect to be like a feature of the show, because they run into her and like watch her show. Like she puts on this heavy metal rock band goth underground venue in like the first couple episodes, and like, all right, sure, great. And then she's his neighbor. I'm like, yes. It's kind of like how in Stinkin', I know I'm big in wild anime ties, but in Stinkin' To Your Eternity, when the older lady character, like who is the con shaman in the first arc, shows up and is throughout every arc the rest of the show. Like, how did she end up here? Nana is that character here in Golden Time.
Yeah. Nana was awesome.
Yep.
And
No.
there were a lot of moments. I'll bring up another point. There were a lot of moments in both shows where I was laughing out loud, like gut wrenching laughing out loud. Like in Golden Time, the episode where they are servers at that party and Mitsuo becomes like a male stripper.
Yes, he does.
Basically.
Yeah, my boy. Let's go.
When Toradora was taking the picture with what's her name, I was like, oh man, I was like, Coco's gonna get that. Like, I was laughing so hard. And then in Toradora, there were a lot of laugh out loud moments. The shirtless moment with Kitamura, and like the swimming episode with Taiga. She can't swim. Her thing falls out of her swimsuit, and
her
he
little
dives
pad.
in to put it back.
And he slips it back in, like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, good singing stuff. We're kind of wrapping up. I kind of want to just toss the one major point I still have. Is Taiga is my kind of character. In To Your Eternity, it's Gugu and his bullheadedness. In Stinkin' Demon Slayer, it's Inosuke and his boarheadedness rather. And Taiga, I just love these characters that will just say the first thing in their mind, that will run towards their. I think the philosophical phrase is their id, like their just base desire, their first instinct. I love that. I love that performance of characters, and Taiga was that here, and she was a main love interest. So that's the last point I had on here, Guru. Did we have anything else you want to wrap up in with our Golden Time and Toradora enjoyment stuff?
I guess
kind of said a lot.
One thing that I would bring up is that in my one sentence, I said that Toradora wasn't something that I was on board with, but then I was after a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
That actually has to do with Taiga, because at first when they were working together, it felt like was pretty much openly hostile towards Ryuji.
And very abusive.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And so that's what I did not like, because it's like, come on. But then as the show went on, you came to understand why she acted like that, and she actually started to change and make improvements. And that's where it started to become like, okay, I can see where this is going and I like it. And it was kind of similar to Golden Time with Coco.
Yes, I was gonna say I was the same way with Coco.
Yep, and it's the same story there, where it's like at first Coco, it's like she's nuts, just like, oh boy, you've got issues and you need to work them out, and she does.
Yep, in a really cool way.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a couple other points. I'll just throw in really quick.
Yeah.
Number one, I appreciated that in both of these anime, their parents were present to one degree or another.
Yes.
Which I thought was interesting.
Yes.
Anime really strays away from having parents involved. The cool thing in Toradora was how Taiga's father was involved and then not involved, and how like that was a gut wrenching series of a couple episodes for sure.
Yeah.
Way
to land your
really
mid-season,
powerful.
crew. Way to go.
Really powerful. Similarly, and a powerful moment over on the Golden Time side is the car crash episode and the subsequent episodes that followed that. That was also really intense and I think really well done, especially for what it did to Coco's character during that time. And again, I just have to say that both of these shows were incredibly relatable and realistic. I'm not going to say Tadabandi's ghost thing was realistic, but the show setting and the way that they portrayed the world and the characters within that world was so realistic. Like, I literally just had flashback after flashback after flashback to my college and high school days when I was watching the show. It was crazy.
I got one more thing to toss in. Did you finish Raptors up, Brett?
Yeah.
You good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I realized I have been gushing about these shows for a very long time, and they are a 6 and 7 for me. Both of these shows are long. Both these shows are very long indeed. They're 25 episodes for Toradora, and I think 24 for Golden Time.
Golden Time.
And it goes just a bit further than my attention span was willing to hold on for. That's why they're not outstanding for me. I wish they condensed some of the stuff, which would have made us miss out on some stuff. Maybe multiple seasons. I don't know exactly, but it ran long for me. Whereas stuff like Rascal was a more concise, like arc bite. I think it was a shorter 12 or 13. Rascal, or maybe I'm completely misremembering. But that's what held me back from my score. Is these are great romances? They're a bit long for me, even though there is good stuff throughout the entire season of both shows.
Yeah. All right, Skyler, did you have any final quick thoughts?
No, not that comes to mind at the moment.
So I have a couple quick things. So first off, where does our ranking stack up against other people's ranking? So on my anime list, Toradora has an 8.1 and Golden Time has a 7.75. So Toradora is ranked a little bit higher than Golden Time. They're both high, 8. On IMDb, Toradora has an 8 out of 10, and Golden Time has a 7.6 out of 10. So Toradora ahead again, and both of them are tied with a 92% of Google users giving it a thumbs up. So that's kind of how we stack up to other people's opinions, which is pretty interesting. Okay, so that wraps up our enjoyment section where we talk about what we like and didn't like about the show. As we transition over to our technical section and get that rubric prepared, Skyler has some interesting facts for us about the shows.
Yeah, we got a new section for you guys. So, turn it away.
Here is some facts about Toradora. Whether they're fun or not, I'll let you decide. Both Toradora and Golden Time were based off of a light novel. And the author of the light novels, as we've just discussed, were written by the same author. And I think that's kind of the reason why we did this combined episode, is so that we can kind of compare these two works of the same person and see where there are similar patterns, where they worked in one and where they maybe didn't work in others. And we're really going to go in that in the technical. Mm-hmm. For Toradora, there was a visual novel published in 2009 for the PlayStation Portable.
Okay.
And as usual for visual novels, you can get several different endings. And the quote-unquote true ending for Toradora, where if the anime went for just a little bit longer, what they would have done is where Taiga would have been pregnant with triplets, with Ryuji, and they would have been married.
That's the true ending?
That's the true ending.
I would have much rather seen that, like Braydn said. If the show... Okay. Look. This is my main problem with Toradora, right? If they had ended the show 5 episodes sooner... Mm-hmm. I'm saying this right now. If they'd ended the show 5 episodes sooner, as in put where it ended 5 episodes earlier, and then the last 5 episodes was them getting married, finding out they have triplets in the last episode, I would have given it a 11 out of 10. Easy.
Easy.
Yep.
So high. So
that's
maybe
awesome.
I have to go buy a PSP on eBay.
I know, right?
Hey, this is not official endorsement or advisement, but I'm sure you could emulate it.
Okay. All right, cool. That was good. That's going.
There's PSPs for $70.
Oh, that's not bad.
All
Okay.
right, what else you got?
Fun fact number 2 for Toradora. So the name for Toradora is derived from the names of the 2 main characters. So Taiga and Tora are the Japanese words for tiger, while Ryu means dragon. Mm-hmm. But you might be thinking, okay, I can see Toradora, but Ryu isn't Dora. So if you take the English pronunciation for the English word for dragon, you get Thoragon. And so that's how you get the Toradora. Thorgan.
Oregon.
Also fun fact, a lot of romance anime does this exact naming convention where they take the names of the two characters, smash them together, and you get the name of the show.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of people in real life that do that to people they know.
Yeah. True.
Yep.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then for Golden Time, the fun facts for that one that I've kind of found is just, they're done by the same author and they were animated by the same studio. And then just a quick comparison between the two. On my anime list, Toradora is a popularity rank of 20, whereas Golden Time has a popularity rank of 146.
Whew.
20?
Dang.
That's actually insane. That's
Yeah.
crazy. So, for people who don't know, on my anime list, the popularity ranking is how many people have this anime on their list
Yes.
of all anime in the whole universe. And so to be number 20 in popularity is insane.
Yeah, it's a wonder I don't hear more about this anime. Because it comes up now and again. I hear brushes about it, but to be number 20, that's dang, kudos to them. That's awesome.
So that's the
that's
fun
wild.
facts I've got for you today.
Cool.
So the shows that beat Toradora, just for context, the shows that beat Toradora are Attack on Titan, Death Note, One Punch Man, Sword Art Online, My Hero Academia, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Tokyo Ghoul, Naruto, Hunter x Hunter, Demon Slayer, Your Name, Steins Gate, No Game No Life, Code Geass,
Really?
Josie the Tiger and the Fish, and then Toradora.
That's a
Wait, no,
solid
that's not-
list.
No. Sorry, not Josie the Tiger and the Fish. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
It is A Silent Voice. A Silent
Oh,
Voice,
sure.
and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toradora. But
No
that's
game,
crazy.
no life. That's a surprise for me.
Toradora is over Jujutsu Kaisen, One Piece, ReZero,
Whoa!
Angel Beats,
Whoa!
Mob Psycho, Haikyuu, Bleach,
I can
Cowboy
see Bleach.
Bebop, Fairy Tail, Neon Genesis,
Man.
Kill la Kill. It's like that's insane for
There's-
popularity wise. That's
There's
crazy.
just too much power in that little taiga body. It's just taking
Okay.
the stick and list by storm.
I'm gonna add one caveat before we jump into technical. So I enjoyed personally watching Golden Time more than Toradora because of the relationship reason. I felt more emotionally invested in a way that I liked. But do I think Golden Time was better? No. No, I do not. I think Toradora was a way better show, just to be clear. But I liked watching the relationship part of Golden Time more. It got my heart pumping more.
Got that Doki Doki going.
Okay, so thank you, Skyler. That was really fun. We'll look
Yep.
forward to the next section of Fun Facts next week.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
until then, let's do this technical ranking. We're going to do something different this time because we are doing a combined show. We are going to go one category at a time for both shows. So in technical, we have 4 categories: art, story, characters, delivery. We rank each one 1 to 5. 1 being terrible, 5 being exceptional. 3 is meh, which is on par with what you would expect. It doesn't stand out for being exceptionally good or bad. We're going to do art for Toradora, then art for Golden Time. And we're going to talk about them comparing to each other. We're going to give them a final score of what we think they deserve on a technical rubric that we'll talk about. But we are going to talk about them in the context of each other. So, to start things off, art, which includes music, animation, sound design, art style, intro and outro. Braydn, what is a 1? What's a 5?
Our one anime, the art department, are where the composition of the anime is frequently ugly, messy, disjointed, bland, boring, repetitive, and poorly done. Whereas exceptional, 5 ranked anime in art, are where the composition of the anime is always beautiful, cohesive, fitting, engaging, notable, ambitious, and expertly performed.
Okay. What are you guys thinking for Toradora?
Toradora on its art. Well, I got some notes because I just
Okay.
went over this thing. There's a couple moments where the soundtrack, like the play-by-play music of this reminds me of like Terraria, the video game Terraria, or Celeste, or Stardew Valley. There's something with a mixture of like marimba and synthesizer that just like hits that 8-bit vibe, which I mean was okay. It just was like a little bit strange to pull in here, I think.
A little bit. I'll
bit.
I'll add in that I think overall the strengths of these shows is not art.
No.
In fact, there are many, many moments in both Toradora and Golden Time where like the ratio of the characters is really weird, and like all of a sudden their legs are very skinny and Taiga's hair to her face sometimes doesn't line up. Like I love the shows obviously, but the animation piece is not their strength, and there are many, 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 many times when it's like that doesn't look quite right.
Now I want to give you a counter there. Not so much for Golden Time, because I don't remember there being much action in that one, but Taiga specifically has a lot of action in Toradora that is presented in her full ferocious, like they represent her well by the action on the screen for her. So I think the consistency possibly is at question here. There is definitely a conveyance action that well holds true to the character and the story they're trying to perform.
Oh, for sure. I think the character design and execution is super well, but I'm saying the overall animation, there are many weird looking parts.
Yeah,
Sure.
there's nothing that stands out to me in Toradora about it being like really good animation. Like to me,
Go ahead.
it just seemed average.
I agree. I spoke on the music of Toradora. Does anybody remember any of the music of Golden Time? Anything stand out there at all?
It was interesting.
Yeah. I have some notes on the music for Golden Time.
Because while you're looking that up, I went over and I listened to both the intros and the outros for Golden Time, and they were okay. I'll give them okay rating. They were anime intros and outros. Like I didn't have any special notes for there. But what else we got there, Brett?
So okay, the thing for Golden Time, my notes for the soundtrack of Golden Time, is the whole soundtrack was kind of based around it's like a college soundtrack, right? You have like some rocky sounding songs, you have some fun piano background stuff, you have some like pop sounding music. So like I wouldn't say that it stands out. I think it's a well conceived soundtrack for the show, but it's also not like next level. I think it's just kind of there. It's good.
All right, well, I'm going to make one last plea for something to be off the meta line for either of these shows regarding their art form. I quite like the intro song for Toradora in the first half of it. It's bright, it's poppy, it has some like rapid speech / rap elements to it, which give it this really aggressive and like forward momentum feel that well introduces the show.
Yeah.
Pooray, pooray, pow, pow. Whatever that one is, it's a pop. It's great.
Yeah.
And then I also want to toss at the outro of Toradora for the second half of it. While the music was whatever, the animation outro, where it was a very nice way of representing the character. They changed the art style to a more bright and soft.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Outro.
I remember that
animation, and they show Ryuji cooking in the kitchen. It feels very nice. It's a very like refreshing thing to look at the end of the show. So that's what I want to toss down is notable art things I pulled around for those.
One more art thing.
Hit.
We cannot go further without discussing
Please. I need.
the bird.
The bird.
The bird, the fugly bird, my guy. It was supposed to be ugly, but still, every time that thing came on the screen,
bird.
I wanted to throw my television out the window. Like, that alone annoyed me so much on my third time watching Toradora that I was like, I'm going to lower the show by half a point because I can't stand this thing. It's supposed to be comedic relief, but it's just annoying.
It's not. It was definitely included from the original story or something, but it does not translate to the screen well.
I think I did dock it a half a point just for the parrot.
It was that bad, yo.
The relationship they had with the parrot, I love it. I love everything there. I just hated seeing it. I hated hearing the thing. It didn't land well when they first showed up.
No.
No.
Okay. So, recapping. Toradora.
Yeah. But also, like, we didn't have much to talk about with Golden Time. Like, there was a little bit there,
About the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I
where
mean,
are we at?
It's not crazy if they get the same score. It's the same studio. They're only a couple of years apart.
Yeah.
Right, Skyler? 2013 to 2010?
2008?
Oh, 8. Okay,
2008
well,
to 2013, so 5 years, both released in the fall season.
Okay, so in that, like, I think Golden Time looked a little bit better, but really not that much. So, okay, what are we saying? Braydn, you kind of said a meh. Are we thinking like 3, 2.5?
We're talking Toradora. I want to say 3. Like, I was saying the thing about Taiga's character, it wasn't so much concentrating on her look, more that a lot of action got invested into her that I thought was represented well. And then also there's some weird stuff, and there's a lot of okay music, and there's some good intro, and it's an anime. They did some stuff well. They did some stuff like most other animes. So
yeah, that's fair.
I'm gonna put this at 3.
Skyler, what do you think?
3.
3? All right.
Yeah.
And I'm actually good for a 3 on both, just to start that one off.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Because, know, there's just not much to talk about there. It was fine.
No.
It held its own. I wasn't bothered by it. It just happened.
I didn't like the music choice at times in Golden Time, but that was more of a personal enjoyment thing for the weird flute wood pipe thing that they used. But again, that's more of a personal thing.
Because we have an allowance here for ambition, right? Trying new stuff. And you had a little flute thing that kind of works some bit. I don't remember particularly, but yeah, no, if it's a taste thing, sure.
I remember whenever that thing popped in, I was just like, oh, there it is again.
Sprinkle in there a nice dainty 3. Take it.
All right, 3 for both. Let's move on to story. Okay, story includes plot devices, tone/mood, continuity, world building, pacing, rules and systems, tropes. What's a 1? What's a 5, Braydn?
A 1 story is where the story is frequently nonsensical, inconsistent, boring, confusing, ambiguous, unoriginal, and disappointing. Whereas our 5 stories in anime are where the story was always consistent, always well-paced, comprehensible, consummate, on point in its mood and tone, and unique.
Okay, we're starting with Toradora.
Starting with Toradora.
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna start.
Hit it.
Toradora's story is incredible. It is.
Yeah.
It is very, very good. Like, what I mean by that is I think the characters are exceptional, but the way that those characters are forced to interact within the story, I think the plot is I think the plot's really good. The plot devices are natural. The continuity or the tone and mood of the show is so on point, along with the world building. We talked about pacing being maybe a little on the slow side, but it's a slice of life romance, so kind of par for the course.
Yep.
Like, I think it's really a really, really good story because good characters have to have a good story to drive them forward, and I think that the show did that pretty well for the most part.
I am going to start in as the dissenting tone here. I don't
Do it.
So Yes, I agree what you said, that the characters needed a platform to stand on to get the story there, which they were provided. However, like, we've talked about beautiful stories have this like weaving together of a lot of arcs and stuff. And the story points, not the character points, I want to make a little distinction here, is the story points going from the start of school to the camping arc to the mid-season the school performance to the Christmas thing. Those don't have a weaving where there's a lot of things tying them together to my remembrance. There's a lot, like the things the characters take away from them obviously is what kind of prevails through and shows growth for the characters of the show. But there's elements, like I don't remember the camp, or no, the camping's a bad example because it has the ghost thing that gets tied into the end. But the wrestling thing doesn't really have a tie-in later. I don't remember the Christmas thing really doing
the
that.
whole point of the wrestling thing was to have the story moment with her dad. That was that was that major story moment.
But that's what I'm saying, is those story moments were provided to the characters, and it's just a normal anime school year. When you boil it down, that's the platform, and it did well for the characters, but I don't think it was particularly unique or interesting mesh of a full harmonious story. The characters got there, but not the rest of the world around them.
Okay, I will just mention, unique and interesting aren't words on our rubric.
Unique is, my friend.
It's it is at the end. No, you're right. It is at the end. I was looking at the beginning. Consistent, well-paced, comprehensible, on-point, consummate, unique.
Yep.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Although, again, I just want to mention, it's a slice of life romance.
Yes.
So, like, when I go into slice of life, just so everyone knows, I hate slice of life. I despise slice of life. I can't stand slice of life. But, so, like, if we put it in that context, I think it's more unique and interesting than most others.
And
Well,
I
here's
lean
another
it more
point.
towards par for the course. Go ahead, Skyler.
Here's another point to weave in, where in the character section that you were kind of mentioning, nothing in the character section has a thing about the story plot surrounding them. And so if you look at each individual character's arc, which is what usually
fair.
the focus is in a romance, there is a lot of stuff happening in each and every one of these episodes. Because like you mentioned with the wrestling episode, like you mentioned with the camping episode, there is stuff happening. But because it's a romance, there isn't like an A plot that we're following and the characters are all B plot, which is usually what happens there. In this case, the character B plot is the A plot. But there are several different A plots because this is a character-centric, romance-driven story.
You know what? I like that. I like that turnaround, because that's true. That this is the place where we're going to put that discussion, even though I have a note separate here. So I guess the note then's a smaller note than I was making out to be. It's probably a note more on the, I don't know, world building, I guess, or more of the... It just seems par for the course. It seems like a setting that's well established and functioned for what they wanted to present here, where they did use it to good extent for the characters.
Right. And to your point, and this was mentioned earlier, where it's like, if anything, it sounds like there is a pacing thing that you have an issue with, of it going too slow or being too fast. And that's
Also
usually
that, yes.
what's indicative of pacing, is just like, it went too slow or went too fast. Or worse yet, something could be removed entirely and it doesn't affect the story.
Well, I mean, because like when they have the wrestling show arc right in the middle, I'm like, oh, that's going to be the unique thing from the school arc that is so typical of so many anime, is that they're going to do wrestling instead of a haunted mansion or maid cafe. They mentioned that. They mentioned that everybody does a maid cafe in these such scenarios, and they did a wrestling thing. I'm like, that is interesting. There's a little thing that's different.
Yep.
So, there's like then we got to come around to the evolution of each character throughout this is profound. Like every character from the side boy, we're talking about Toradora, from side boy Yusaku to Ami to our main Ryuji and Taiga, have incredible growth throughout this anime. So
That's the next category.
I know,
Well,
but
yes.
but it's
Yeah,
part.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
just
I
said
know,
it's
I know,
part
I
of
know,
this
I know.
one.
I know.
I need something here, guys.
Yeah, I don't
What else we
remember
got?
which episode we did it on, but I had like a hard time separating like the characters from their story, and I realized this was wise because it's like the story of the characters is not the characters, and this is where that separation kind of happens.
Yes. So okay, there you go.
Okay.
What else do you have on story?
Score for Toradora.
Ah.
What are we thinking?
4.
Yeah, you stole the words.
4. I was gonna say the same thing. All right.
Yeah.
We're on 4.
Wait.
Okay.
Okay, all right. You kind of landed real strong with outstanding, amazing, inspirational. That's a 4.
Well,
Well,
Because-
the characters are the exceptional part, and they fit within the
Yeah.
story. They go together, pretty well. A 4 for the story,
Okay.
I think, is totally good.
Yeah,
Okay.
the story is
Absolutely.
good, but it is the characters that polish and shine it to the point that you can overlook the problems with the plot.
Yeah. Which, since we're going into Golden Time from here, that is the complete inverse of what happens in Golden Time. There's
I
no.
would say the complete inverse.
I'm just saying, there's
but-
no typical arc that is Golden Time because there's no other anime that does college. And the
There's a
college
few.
experience.
There's a few. There's a few.
I
I've got
haven't
some
seen them, they don't
recommendations
exist.
coming up. So, okay, speaking of Golden Time, I'm just going to start us off by saying that we've already talked about that there are some plot points in Golden Time that do bug us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The way that the plot ended was really
A tragedy.
a tragedy. It really was.
Like,
The
I-
ending of Golden Time was just really not good.
Yes, I didn't like the whole member forgetfulness thing, and I thought the ending was a tragedy to that point. It's
Yeah.
not good. Very bad.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I even didn't mind the amnesia thing, but I thought the ending was horrible. So that's one main plot story thing we brought up. I will say where Toradora lacked a plot thread that kept progressing that you were following, Golden Time had one. Whether it was satisfying or not, it had an A plot thread that was progressing the show and the characters' relationships with each other, like the love triangle, the situation between these things, like a lot of it was driven by this underlying A plot. So it did have a plot that I thought for the most part actually wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't great.
I
Okay.
agree and also disagree with that because the A plot in that sense was arbitrary. Where it's like, what advanced the amnesia? Oh, just things. It was convenient for him to melt down at this moment.
It got more that way at the end, but it started becoming an issue when he hit his head or after the car crash. Like those
After
were,
the car-
those
Yes.
were some
Yeah.
points that
Yes.
started activating it.
Yeah,
Well,
and
but-
they explained that so they actually explained it. It wasn't ambiguous. They explained it by in the doctor's office when he was there. They said his memory might return or it might not. It could come back in a sudden flash and he's all of a sudden a different person, or he could start to regain small bits of it over time. We'll just have to see. And if you rewatch the show again, you'll see that there are small things progressing throughout the whole show.
Correct.
So it's not necessarily
Correct.
random or ambiguous.
But to me, it was the timing for it to be a plot point is where it was ambiguous. Where it's like, oh, what triggers it this time? Oh, I just wanted it to. Whereas something that would have really gotten me hooked even more is if, whenever he and Coco had, a moment, that was the trigger. Which would then force them into this
interesting.
situation where it's every time, where Coco and Tada's relationship gets progressed, so does his amnesia coming back.
So, they do mention that in one episode as being something that could have triggered it. Just by the way.
Okay. Noted. All this
But
good.
if
Noted.
that was the primary cause, I agree with you. That could have been more interesting.
And that's my point. It wasn't focused on for that being a thing, and Coco realizes it, and now she's in this conundrum of well, what do I do? I would have been way more on board if that was a plot point, but it wasn't. So moving on.
I want to toss a point in here. That kind of weaves into this. Is I actually like the pacing of Golden Time better than I like the pacing of Toradora. Although
I agree.
there's
Yeah.
kind of a black hole of attention span for me at the end of Golden Time. The last 5
Yeah.
episodes or so, I kind of just straight up don't care about. But
Yeah,
until then, there's
Yeah.
things happening all the time between the concert and the dress up party that they're doing maid service for, and the classes they have, and going swimming, and getting pulled by police because Coco stole a bike. Like this world moves and it exists and it flourishes. I want to say there's a lot of those points I just said that are all fueled by Nana, who wanted. We're going to shout again next time, but she does a really good job at adding more to the world than just college and these kids' apartments and like the restaurant. Golden Time.
Yes, I agree.
Yep.
The pacing
So-
was
I agree with
better
that.
for most of Golden Time.
Yeah.
So what are we thinking for Golden Time story?
This. I have a hard time with shows that have black holes in them for me, and like terrible endings, you know. So I am feeling 3.5 here, and that it does have the needy college setting and a good earnest pacing for a romance, but it has some major holes come the end of the show.
I'm kind of bouncing between 3 and 3.5.
I'm doing the same bounce.
Because the 2 category that I would bring up the story was sometimes, well, and this was for me, boring, ambiguous, and disappointing.
Yeah. Like, yeah. So if we land at a 3, if we're pulling down to there, I want to just note for the listeners, it is a polarizing 3, not the 3 that art was for these shows. This is one that had big things on both sides that landed it there. If it is a 3,
Yeah.
or if a 3.5, it's still the same kind of thing. Brett, what are you thinking?
I'm going between a 3 and a 3.5 as well. The reason I would go 3.5 is because those things that bothered us and the things that were confusing, ambiguous, and disappointing, they stood out, I think, because they were painted across a fairly good, consistent, well-paced, on point for tone and mood show that was also kind of unique, especially for a romance. Definitely unique, right? So I think because the majority of the show was good, but there were these big spikes in things that were bad, they stand out a lot. So I would be willing to push it to a 3.5 because I think it had overall goodness, but some bad things that bring it down to
Yeah.
meh. But I don't know if I'd bring it all the way down to a 3.
Well, I'm actually gonna try and tilt you guys towards a 3 now that I'm thinking about it, I'm processing, because let's say this thing was solid all the way through, right? Let's say it had these rough bits, they were more even, smooth, they were more what do you predict from a romance. Would you put it at a 4.5 then? Or would you put it at a 4? In my brain, so while you're ruminating on that, and you can give me your arguments, I'm going to say a 4 is where it would land for me. If those rough parts were smooth, and because we have these 2 major pain points, I want to take that down to a 3. So I'm kind of leaning towards that. But what do you guys think about, again, the story if it was more smooth over, not so rough? Does that check for you guys at all? You guys are giving me looks.
I'm not sure what I would do in that scenario. That's why I'm giving a look. Like I can really only picture like how it is.
Sure.
I think I'm going to throw out a 3 because it balances between the good and the bad.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go 3.
Yeah.
Let's go 3.
3 for me.
All right. 3 it is. Okay. Next is characters. Characters includes their design, development, motivation, action, inaction, relationships, and personality. Braydn, I have a proposal. Since this is a long episode,
Yep.
let's just skip what a 1 means. What's a 5?
Yeah, let's start. We're going down from a 5. We're going up from a 4. So our 5's exceptional characters are where characters are always understandable, consistent, reasonable, adequately static and dynamic, and relatable. Yes. Okay, Toradora. I'm gonna land Toradora because I have things to talk about here. There are, when it comes, we've talked about how we really like how the characters get to progress. But in the cases of Yusaku, the best friend guy, and in Amy Kawashima, they have a lot of moments where the characters stand more static, which is fine, right? There's an adequacy to that, right? But there's some points, especially in Yusaku's point, where he kind of just seems like a board of optimism and not really involved in the story. He just kind of hits his beat and then walks out of the scene. So I want to just toss that notably in Toradora, there's moments where characters seem flat. Even more reigns in as far as I've observed them. So, Toradora, where are we at?
I'm at a 5.
5, okay.
Here's the thing, right? Like, if I'm thinking about, like, okay, Toradora is one of the most popular anime of all time. We all rated it incredibly high for enjoyment. And if we read through the criteria for what a 5 character is, like, if there is anything exceptional about Toradora, it is the characters. And even if some of them are a little flat, I think how exceptional the main cast is and the supporting cast. You mentioned Kitamura might be a little flat sometimes, but everyone else is so exceptional in terms of being understandable, consistent, reasonable, dynamic, relatable, and more. To me, I think it's an easy 5. Like, for Toradora characters, for sure.
The thing that came to mind for me while you were listing that off was adequately static dynamic. Because where you were mentioning, who is it, Yusaku?
Kitamura.
Kitamura, yeah. Where it's like, that's kind of what comes to mind, where it's like, he's a side character. And so, if there were times that he needed to be static to allow, essentially, Taiga or Ryuji to shine a little bit more, then that's just kind of what it has to be.
Yes. And so, to note, I largely agree with you guys because I cried. This is a very powerful show with big emotions and big conversations that are brought about by wonderful characters. And it's a very touching thing. And when I think of our I don't know why it's our poster child for 5 thinking anime, but Haikyuu, right? With our first 5 ever given in the character selection, those characters, those characters and character entities, meaning the teams, I felt like they had an active role at almost all times. Like they had a really admirable presence to them whenever they were acting. Now I could be looking back at this with rose-colored glasses, or volleyball-colored glasses.
I think there were a lot of characters on the opposing teams that were completely looked over or almost not important whatsoever, right?
Well, but that goes back to the adequately static dynamic.
Yeah.
And just a quick throw out, scrolling through, so other shows that we've given a 5 to in characters is Spy Family, Steins Gate, Rascal, there's the Haikyuu, and A Place Further Than the Universe.
Yeah. This is a complete
So do we
side
say
note.
that...
Sorry, go ahead, finish it.
So just, I don't know, as one thing where I'm scrolling through this is just, do we think that the characters of Toradora are on equal standing, or maybe even more, than the shows I just listed off?
Yes.
I want to toss in a yes as well. I think it does. I need to throw out my inhibitions about things, especially when we relate to this towards this part.
And I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did.
Yeah. Yet I think it more than makes up for it in Taiga and Ryuji, and what was it, Mimiru? What's her name?
Minori.
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 Yep.
Well, and even
absolutely.
about your inhibitions, where it's they are still solid characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
He
I'll put
is
the
the
5.
tall boy. I just want to shut up and just a fun note. Just you went through the list, and I think Steins Gate honestly is the king for me in characters. I want to talk about them more when I talk about characters more, because I keep saying Haikyuu, but that's just because that was the first one. I want to talk more about Steins Gate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Golden time characters.
Golden time characters.
I'm gonna read the bad section really quick. Bad characters
Okay.
are sometimes unreasonable, confusing, inconsistent, unreasonably static, dynamic, and annoying.
Tarabanri.
Tarabanri.
I think we can all agree
Bad
Toradora
character.
is border. I'm gonna say borderline bad character because again,
Yes.
I do think
I know what you're about to say.
I think there is a very, very valid argument to be made that he was a decent character that you guys really didn't like.
That was not what I was gonna say, actually. Because we talk about how these characters have these relationships that are so invested and amazing. He does. He absolutely does. Tadabonari is in that relationship and has those conversations and has his own side with his own troubles. He is a well-developed character. However, he seems to be geared for romance. He doesn't have a lot of extraneous things that he's notable for. And he has that hitch that we have with him, with his memory thing, like affecting his relationships in ways that we find weird. Those are major hitches. However, he definitely holds his own in the romance category. Don't get me wrong, he stands in here. There's a reason why we talk about this story like that.
What I said in the beginning might have, at the beginning of this episode, might have been like a stretch, but I do think he is a better, more relatable character to some people than he is to others. So I would propose that Tarabanri is a more polarizing character than the other characters in the show, Golden Time.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that he rubbed both of you guys the wrong way. I recognize his faults, but he didn't bother me the same way as you guys. Maybe because I related to him more. Maybe because my life experiences caused me to overlook some of those things in a more whatever way. And I'm not saying either of us is wrong for thinking that way. I'm just saying I think Tadabonri is the weakest character in the cast. Like, being honest, I think he's the weakest character in the cast, but I also don't think he's just uniformly bad. I think he's polarizingly bad to some people and good to some people.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I want to offer kind of a contrast to that within Golden Time. Linda. Linda is a character who has a lot of character and a lot of things. She has the secret. She has the big clue to who our main character is. And she's involved in the world in a bunch of aspects. I think she's not the gear behind the photography. That's the other side character. What's her name? Chiri or something like that?
Oh, Chidori, yeah.
Oh, Chinami.
And even then later there was the other, I can't know his name again. The best friend.
Sato.
Yeah. Mitsuo.
Yeah. Oh, that best friend. Their third
Yes.
best friend is Satuo.
Sato.
But yes.
Yes. So I want to say, like,
Takaya.
she's kind of on the flip side of him on that same axis. She's solid in her own right, but then also has character stuff applied to her that makes her more involved things. So within the story, even they have these polarizing weak, polarizing stronger characters. And then Coco is sneaking just a monsoon of character.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Her
enough
and
for-
Taiga are so similar.
I
Like,
know.
they
Okay.
both have red hair. They're both fiery. They're both all these things.
It keeps going, actually. So both the side guy characters, Mitsuo in Golden Time and Yusaku in Toradora, they both have an arc or an arc bite where they go blonde.
Yeah.
They dye their hair
Yeah,
blonde. Both
they
of them do. And it goes further. Taiga and Ami's relationship in Toradora kind of reminds me of how Coco, who's also main girl, and Chinami's relationship goes, where they're always butting heads against each other, but
Yeah.
kind of like eventually smooth out those edges in the long trajectory.
And Minori is very similar in terms of her tragic love story to
Linda.
Linda. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. That's just
It's
fun
almost
stuff.
Dude, it's almost like they were written by the same author.
Like, by the same
crazy.
author? Really?
That's crazy.
What?
It's almost like the
I
author
can
had like
see it
a
now.
hyper successful romance anime in like 2008, and then 5 years later, like came out with another
With another one.
really good
It was
romance.
really good.
Yeah, it's great.
All right.
Okay,
So-
here's I would I want to say one thing.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing. I think one additional positive point to the characters, and then I'll propose a score.
Yep.
Another positive point to the characters is their development and design within a college setting. We talked about it in story, and typically that's where we talk about the setting and the world building, but I am going to bring it up here in the characters. Why am I going to bring it up in the characters? Because the relationship, the egos, the logos, and the pathos behind a more mature, older character is different, and you could argue more complex than a high school character. And I think that was actually done really, really well a lot of the time in Golden Time. The other reason I bring it up is because we universally hailed this show for being a older, mature, college-age romance anime, which is so rare that I believe it deserves a little more credit than we gave it in the story category, and the characters, I think, contributed to it. So I would propose that are two big bonuses in this.
And also,
what are you thinking?
the main character's keys.
Yes, they have a physical relationship,
Yeah!
which I don't know if we can put on the technical rubric, but
It's
like,
relationships.
you know what?
Right
It's
there.
okay.
Yeah,
You know what, Braydn?
relationships.
I'm gonna do it. Okay, characters that actually get together in a reasonable timeline and have a physical relationship makes them more relatable. It makes them more adequately dynamic, and it makes them more reasonable in my mind. But let's just leave that off. I think
No.
it makes them more relatable and adequately dynamic.
Yeah, 100%.
And reasonable. I'm gonna say reasonable because
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna say reasonable.
It feels
So-
unreasonable sometimes with these romances. It does.
Especially, I just finished watching Tonikawa Over the Moon for You, which is
Oh,
another
boy.
romance anime, and there's a reason why they don't have as much of a physical relationship early on in the show, but it drives me absolutely freaking crazy. Like,
Yep.
Yep.
you are married and you're embarrassed to hold hands for like 6 episodes. Like, I'm gonna explode. Like, come on. So, okay. Anyway.
Anyway.
Back to Golden Time.
Bye.
I'm gonna propose.
You go for it.
I'm gonna propose a 4.
Oh.
Tadabonri was bad, but I think the majority of their characters were really good. And
Yes.
I think because he's polarizing, I don't think he necessarily deserves to pull the whole score down that much. I'm gonna say 4.
I was going to say
Yeah,
4.5.
I'm good with that.
You were gonna say 4.5.
4.5.
Okay.
The relationships, they hit harder here. They're more reasonable. They're more relatable. Like, I love the energy in Toradora. I really do. But a human being does not withstand that amount of abuse and come out with the relationship that they have at the end of it. Like, I get the character arc thing. I understand that. It's fun, right? But these guys have something that I can tie more to our world, tie more to my experiences, not just my fantasies and my projections of characters. So I give him bonus points for that. I give him a stinking knockdown because stinking Tadabonri is just a pretty darn meh with a pretty weird ghost on top of his shoulder. So I'm going to propose a 4.5.
I guess my issue with that is that if one of the main characters, if not the main character, is the one that has all these issues, these character issues, that's where I'm docking it a bit more.
That's a good point. What do you think, Brett? Tiebreaker. Hit it.
Oh man. See,
You've seen it 3 times, man. I think there's no better word here than you.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna look through the entire character list real quick. Hold on. I'm looking.
One thing while you're looking that I will comment on is that the cast of Golden Time is smaller than Toradora.
Yes.
Because the amount of characters that you're actually interacting with in Golden Time is smaller than in Toradora. Because in Toradora, you have like the class that you're interacting with and doing stuff. Whereas in Golden Time, that's not really a thing. It's always in between classes. Minus like the one time that they're talking in class and the professor yells at them.
It's not that big of a difference, is it? I'm thinking like 7 to like 12. Which is that's jump. It's almost twice, but I don't know. It's almost twice. No, that's fair. There it is. All right, Brett's coming back.
Side note. I'm gonna do something insane to get us to decide between 4 and 4.5. Are you guys ready for this?
Hit me.
Okay. Who had the worst father? Coco, who physically abused her in public and slapped her, or Taiga, who emotionally manipulated and abandoned her? Who had the worst father?
Coco. On hand, Coco. Because Coco's father was like involved more in the story than Taiga's father. He showed up, did that one thing, and was dipped. That was like his shtick.
No. Coco's father appeared in 3 episodes.
No. Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
Yes.
he appeared in several.
He was in 3 episodes.
No.
And,
Sorry.
in fact,
I meant to say Taiga's father had the one arc, but I remember Coco's father reading through the episode list like showed up a couple times throughout
Yeah,
the
he
whole
did.
season.
Taiga and Coco's fathers were in approximately the same number of episodes.
Oh.
Who had the worst father? Physically abusive or emotionally abusive?
It's still Coco to me.
Skyler?
Abuse is abuse, but
Yeah.
I'd give it to Taiga, I guess.
Okay.
I was
Great.
also going to give it to Taiga for having a worse father. By the way, physical abuse is never okay. But I'm just saying.
No abuse is
Oh
okay.
yeah, as I
Don't
said,
do
abuse
that.
is abuse. It's not okay.
Okay, so
wait,
we've got it.
What does that do for us?
That's
Are
half
we
a point
lowering
for.
Toradora then?
No.
What?
Still a well written character. I'm gonna go with a 4.25.
You coward! You coward, Brett. We're not doing that. Not here. Gonna mess with our numbers.
Okay. Look, I'm gonna give it a 4. Here's the main reason I decided
Yeah.
to finally go with a 4. If I look at the entire supporting cast, I don't think the entire supporting cast for Golden Time was as strong as the entire supporting cast for Toradora.
I'll take it. You know what?
4.
Fine with that. All right, throw out a 4.
Okay.
All right.
All right, we're on our final one, delivery. Let's do these fast for Golden Time and Toradora. Delivery is translation of the subtitles, voice acting, script, and edit. Braydn, what's a 1, what's a 5?
Our terrible deliveries are cheesy, unbalanced, inappropriate, incoherent, and bland, where exceptional deliveries are believable, balanced, genuine, understandable, elevating, and enriching.
Skyler, kick us off. What are you thinking?
Comparing the two, because that's kind of what we're doing here, I actually would
sure.
say that Golden Time actually has a slightly better, or has better delivery than Toradora, because when I think of moments of good delivery, there are moments from Golden Time that come to mind, not Toradora. For like voice acting.
Interesting.
Okay.
But on the same hand, there are still plenty of really good, powerful moments in Toradora. It's just that they're almost all later in the season.
I got some notes from Toradora. Toradora has 2 weird things about it. One, I really like the subtitles of Toradora. They go in that expressive, going to the yos and slangs and missaid words to help properly represent the characters. I'm gonna lie that there. It also has. This is gonna be weird for nobody but me, but it has a notably bad dub. I don't like it. I don't like listening to it. It's not just okay to put on the side and listen to. I'd I'd rather not. I'd rather just not watch it instead of listen to the dub. Which I am the defender of the dub on this show. Like if I could just have something on the side and I know what's coming up, it's fine. It's fine. This one sits weird. The characters just don't seem right. They don't have the aggression or the sulkiness or the them that makes them. They just have the kind of words going through and kind of varied beats. But I don't like the dub. I don't like the dub of Toradora.
Yeah. One note for everybody listening: the amount of weight that we give to the dub of anime in our score is so small.
Yeah.
So like we expect a bad dub to be the standard for the most part.
Okay. Definition of bad, yes.
For the most part. But anyway, I pretty much agree with both of you guys. Like I actually don't have anything different to add. I think the edit was sufficient. I'll add that in. I think the edit was sufficient. I think what was good for both of them was the script. So specifically, the words the characters said to each other and in emotional moments, I think was good. I actually am going to agree with Skyler that I think it was better in Golden Time. And I think it's because of the emotional maturity and the age of the characters was expected to have a little bit more of a nuanced script, which I felt that it had. Whereas, Taiga's and Ryuji's characters were both very, straightforward, very to the point. There wasn't a whole lot of complexity or nuance to the script required from their characters. In Golden Time, there was some. And so I think that it was kind of more technically accomplished in that way.
I'm gonna take your word for it because I don't remember anything notable to Golden Time. I'm sorry, but I did.
No, that's fine.
For the voice actors, the Japanese voice actors for Toradora, I'll give them they did it. They did a good job. It's pretty online, nothing crazy extraordinary, but good, earnestly good.
So you get a free fun fact, but the voice actor who did Taiga received an award for her performance of Taiga, but I'm trying to find what award that was.
Hey, there you go.
Hey, I respect that.
Yeah.
She had a lot of writing on her. She had a huge range she had to exhibit.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, best female vocal performance in anime television series in...
So, I am out of words to say, crew. Are we thinking 3.5s across them? Are we thinking a little bit of nuance towards Golden Time? What are we saying?
I would give...
Because nothing really is giving me throw it over this direction or that just stands out. It's just they did better. It's over there.
I think I do and Skyler, I might be about to say what you're about to say, but a 3 for Toradora, a 3.5 for Golden Time.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
They're both reaching up they're both reaching up from 3 in my opinion. So.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I agree. I could go 3.5 either way, or I could do 3 and 3.5. I'm an open book.
I could do 3.5 for Toradora and a 4 for Golden Time.
I don't know.
4 for Golden Time.
Really? Ooh.
Wow.
Because it's often believable, balanced, genuine, understanding, elevating, and enriching.
I think those last 2 points, I'd love to hear more from you on that, because for those last 2 points, elevating, enriching, I'm trying to remember moments where the vocal performance really bumped Golden Time up to another level. I don't know.
I guess the scene that comes to mind is after the car crash when he goes in to comfort her.
Yeah.
That scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That scene comes to mind.
That's a scene.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
don't know
that's
if I
fair.
can real
That's
stretch
fair.
past 3.5. I think we're all good 3.5 on Golden Time. We don't like that. We don't like that one.
Yeah.
Then?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Golden
Okay.
Time 3.5?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
All right. And then, so what are we thinking? 3 or 3.5? Is it
Honestly,
average? Is it above average enough? Is the question? Actually.
I could honestly go either way, to be honest.
Honestly, the only reason I'm swayed up to 3.5 is because Taiga won an award for her. And it was a good it's a very good character.
I actually agree with that, and I think that Ryuji and Ami specifically had, you know what, I'm at a 3.5, and here's why. Ryuji, Taiga, and Ami all had 3 unique vocal tonalities that your traditional everyday Japanese voice actor for a high school character does not have, right? Ami had a very mature sounding female voice. Minori is the typical high school Japanese female voice actor high pitched thing. Ryuji had a very dry, bland, very interesting tonality to it. Like, I actually think those 3 characters, like, okay, in fact, when I look at the characters for Toradora, I can hear Ami's, Taiga's, and Ryushi's voices in my head. I can hear Minori's because she's the voice of every high school girl in anime. When I look at the characters for Golden Time, I can hear Coco, Nana, and I can hear Tadabanri's, but his is just like your everyday high school boy.
Anime boy. Yeah.
So I'm at a 3.5 for Golden Toradora.
I've been talked up 3.5.
Okay, sweet.
Okie dokie. 332. 3.5. Okay. Let's do a recap here. Toradora. We have art 3, story 4, characters 5, delivery 3.5. Golden Time. We have art 3, story 3, characters 4, delivery 3.5. Which brings us to a final score, technically, for Toradora as 7.75. And Golden Time, 1 point behind it exactly at 6.75. Braydn, where does that put us with our other shows?
Very interestingly, that puts Toradora right smack dab in the middle. That is our average score for technically rated shows, 7.75. Good job, Toradora. You landed it right in there.
You know, that feels so underserved for how great the characters and the are in the show. It feels so underserved, but like when you look at all the categories,
when you look at sticking a place further than the universe, you're like, well, then also that's over there. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
All right, but for Golden Time, that puts it at, I believe the count is the 5th lowest rated show we've reviewed.
Wow.
Which we've done 19 reviews now, so it's in the bottom 30%.
All right. Okay.
Yep. With the ones right next to it being Cells at Work, our first one we ever reviewed. And scroll. 7.
Jujutsu Kaisen is sitting at a 7.
And you guys are sitting above it. So it's between Jujutsu Kaisen and Cells at Work for our technical ranking. There you go.
We better move on before people start flaming us for giving Jujutsu Kaisen a 7. Go listen to the episode if you want to find out why.
Yeah.
Go check out the technical section. Why did we give Jujutsu Kaisen such a low rating in technical?
Was our other double barrel episode. We reviewed 2 things in that one.
Yes, the show and the movie in one sitting. Yeah. So go check that out.
Good
let's put a bow on the season launch for season 2.
Yeah.
Let's put a bow on it by giving some recommendations.
Oh yeah.
If people liked Golden Time or Toradora, what shows should they watch next?
We're doing a round robin with this, right? Who wants to start?
Yep.
I can start off.
Hit it.
Go ahead.
So, college romance, science fell in love, so I tried to prove it.
Okay.
So it's essentially these 2 college students, but like you would think that they were adults from the art, are essentially in like a lab where one of them confesses their feelings for the other, and so then they try to go through a scientific study on how they love each other.
Great. Awesome.
It's funny, it's ridiculous, but
Jeez.
it's yeah.
What a stinking academic thing to do. Good call. All right, sweet. I'll go next. I'll go second if I can. We've said it 1,000 times. Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. Beautifully strong cast. Very emotionally provocative. Amazing relationship connection between the main two characters, much similar to the Golden Time connection. And Snake It All, that's just not a very well put together story from front to end. As long as you don't watch the stinking movie that concludes it all, you're good. Just don't do that. There's a difference there. So, Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai.
Okay, I'll give mine. The reason I love Golden Time so much is they were actually a couple. If you want to see another show where the couple is actually a couple and isn't afraid to show them being a couple, watch Horimiya.
Yep.
13 episodes. It's shorter. It's satisfying. There's a couple things that I don't like about it, but Horimiya, good romance.
Yeah.
Yep.
Skyler.
It's a solid
Next
one. Ooh, next one. Okay. This one's pretty popular. Again, college setting. Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out. So this one is more... Yeah, so it's a romance comedy. It's set in college. And yeah, it's just a pretty generic, unfortunately, romance comedy. There's not really that much about it. But yeah, if you like the college setting, this is another one that happens in a college setting.
Okay. I'm going to follow up with a little different setting. It's still a romance. I just recently watched something called Oji-san and Marshmallow. It is one of those animes where the episodes go from about 2 to 4 minutes long. There's 13 episodes. You can finish it in an hour. The entire premise is there's these two co-workers, girl and guy, right? This guy is fluffy like a marshmallow. He is the office presenting boy with his desk chair belly. And he loves marshmallows. He loves them to death. And the girl who's interested in him gets him to do things, activate life, like go on dates with her by teasing him with marshmallows. It's silly. It's fun. It's definitely a lot more loose in having like strong characters, but for a quick little bite, I had a blast with it. Oji-san and Marshmallow.
Oji-san and Marshmallow.
Yep.
All right. I mentioned I love romance anime. So for my last recommendation, I'm going to give a couple rapid fire recommendations really, really quick. And I'm going to give justifications for each one. Okay. First things first. Fruits Basket. Commonly considered one of the best romance anime of all time. Story of zodiac animals becoming
+1.
unbound. Okay, you're saying +1 for this. Okay.
Yeah.
It's 50 episodes, so it's a little bit longer. But it's very cute, very good. Next one, Clanad or Clanad After Story, if you want to cry. Also, Your Lion April, if you love music and you want to cry. Kaguya-sama, Love is War, if you want a comedy, just a pure comedy.
Brett,
and then
we're gonna talk about other romance anime. You know that, right?
I know. All right, I have to just really quick. I have two more.
Two more. Go for it.
If you want something that's kind of heavy on the fan service, just as a heads up, but is still a good romance anime, My Dress Up Darling.
I was gonna say that one. Yep.
It's new. It's good. If you want a romance anime that's even older than college, adults, Watakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku. I didn't like it. It's way more slice of life than it is romance, but it's still a romance, and it's adults. And then finally, the one I'm watching right now, Shikamori's Not Just a Cutie. So far, so good. A few episodes in. There. I gave a whole bunch of romance anime. That's not all of them I've seen, but those are the ones that I recommend because they're pretty good. And Snow White with the red hair. Snow White with the red hair.
My goodness.
There's my last one.
Stop.
Okay, I'm done.
Cut you off. No more
Okay,
recommendations. That's too many.
Okay.
I have to edit this episode, Brett. Come on. Calm down over there.
Okay.
Hey, you want me to add one more to you, Braydn?
I mean, yes, you can add one more to it.
A Recovery of an MMO Junkie, so it's a adult romance, but I liked that one.
Brett, what are you gonna do?
Sorry, Braydn.
What are you gonna do, Brett? Do you know what next week's episode is? Do you know what it is?
I do.
Yeah, it's another.
I do know what it is.
Yeah, good. Tell us about it and how you can recommend other romances off of it.
Okay. Speaking of romance, and speaking of our next week's episode, we are going to do a review of Kaguya-sama: Love is War. We're going to cover all of the seasons that are current as of 2022, which is season 1, 2, 3. So we're covering all 3 seasons. It's going to be a good time. It's a comedy, available on Crunchyroll again, thanks to the Funimation acquisition. So, anything else before we go, other than a note to check us out on 310anime.com. That's 310anime.com. You can find links to our rubrics, our top 10 anime of all time for each of us, and our technical rubric as well. Really appreciate all being here for season 2. We're just getting started. Look forward to next week. And just as a little sneak peek, our season finale is going to be an absolute banger. So get excited for that. We're going to have a 9-episode season with a couple bonuses thrown in there. It's going to be a great time. Stick with us. And until next time, Johnny.
Good night, everybody.
See ya.